Hola a todos, bienvenidos a mi historia de la tierra del tango, ya día el tango, es hora del Argentina, or, hello everyone, welcome to my history of the land of the tango, and, did I say the tango? It's Argentina time. Here is my history and cover of the national anthem of Argentina. In 1910, Florentino Avellino, who I couldn't fit this photo of because of his colossal forehead, discovered the so-called Piedra Museo archaeological site. It features a large rock outcrop, which was found to contain petroglyphs and 11,000-year-old human remains, by far making it the site with the oldest human remains in all of Argentina. Today, this site has remained of importance because of how many species we have discovered at it and studied from this site. In 1941, Italian missionary Alberto Agostini made a beautiful discovery. In southwestern Argentina, he discovered one of the most beautiful and most notable archaeological sites in history, the Cueva de las Manos, or the Cave of Hands. It features pictographs of hands which were painted on several cliff faces 13,000 years ago in 11,000 BCE. The cave has been important since it has shown us that the prehistoric people who built it were pioneers in art and music, as well as musicians, because they made a lot of bone flutes. Nothing really happened for the next 10,000 years other than the slaughtering of woolly mammoths and anything else older than Bob Burger for that matter. In 1888, Samuel Cavado made a groundbreaking discovery. Around 1,200 years ago, in 800, in western Argentina, was the construction of the ancient settlement of Kielmas. It was built by the Kielmas people, which are now extinct almost. After reaching a peak population of 5,000, the village was abandoned because of the invasions of some people who will later on be making an appearance in this video. Today, the site is a tourist attraction giving money to the area, which is cripplingly poor. Remember how I said those people were going to make an appearance? Here they are, the Inca of the Incan Empire. In 1438, Pachacuti established the Incan Empire, which, by 1493, under Huayna Capac, had conquered what is now a chunk of land in northwest Argentina. The Inca would only rule this land for a few decades, where they would mine minerals and raise llamas, which are basically used as cars. Llamas are just really smart. In 1516, Argentina was approached by a new people, who would have extensive and long-lasting effects on two continents: the Spanish. In 1516 was the arrival of Spanish explorer Juan Diaz de Solís, who discovered the Rio de la Plata, the delta of the Uruguay and Paraná rivers. He then went home because he was bored. 20 years later, in 1536, explorer Pedro de Mendoza established a town in what is now the capital and largest city in Argentina, Buenos Aires, or Good Air, but it was later abandoned. In 1573, Jeronimo de Cabrera, who had an obnoxiously large beard, established what is now Argentina's second largest city, Cordoba, or if you're a drunk Argentinian, Cardaba. The Spanish then named the region Argentina for the Latin word argentium, which meant silver, as they thought that Argentina would be so rich in the mineral that it would be practically leaking it. In actuality, Argentina is one of the most efficient countries in silver, being rich in almost every other mineral, so that's some clickbait. By 1700, the Spanish had long already established a territorial colonial entity known as the Viceroyalty of Peru, included all of what is now Argentina and almost all of the South American continent, for crying out loud. It would later be split into several more viceroyalties due to internal issues, like the Viceroyalty of Rio de la Plata in 1776. During its existence, lasting until 1814, not much would happen under it other than things like slavery and murder of the natives, but this is just another fact of history regarding European colonization in general. However, those living under the Spanish were sick and tired of answering to their Spanish overlords, and so pressure began to build. From May 18th of 1810 to April 5th of 1818, that pressure was released under the intense Argentine War of Independence. On this day, May 25th, 211 years ago in 1810, the First Assembly of Argentina was established. Today, May 25th, is Argentina's National Day. By its end in 1818, many Argentines and Spaniards lay dead. However, Spain was destroyed by Argentina and its support courtesy from Chile. This led to the formation of Argentina under its first national government, which they creatively named, the first national government. However, after defeating the Spanish and gaining independence, the Argentines began to implode on themselves due to disagreements, which would turn violent. From 1814 to 1880 was Argentina's second major war, the Argentine Civil War. It was fought over the dispute of if Argentina should be a country that favored the federal government or the regional governments. The Federales, who wanted a federalist Argentina, defeated the Unitarios, who wanted a more regional-based Argentina. This led to Argentina becoming a country with a more centralized government. And now for something dark that is almost never mentioned in Argentinian history. Through the late 1800s and early 1900s, Argentina had a really bad problem, no matter if they deny it to this day or not. That problem was child and women labor. Argentina was seen by many around the world to have a cheap labor force in certain industries. It was like the China of South America. This led to some taking advantage of that. Later, this cruel system of overworking children and women would later thankfully be banned by socialist politician Alfredo Palacios, whose mustache is cartoonishly large. In 1930, conservative president of Argentina, Hipólito Yrigoyen, was deposed in a coup d'etat, now known as the September Revolution. No, not the Russia one or that other one. This led to the installation of a forgotten fascist dictator named Jose Uriburu. Following 3 more fascist presidents, another coup overthrew this fascist regime. This coup was led by the next president and arguably the most famous Argentine president ever, Juan Perón. Perón shifted Argentina back to a national form of democratic government, hence making him and his wife, the infamous Eva Peron, national heroes. Speaking of the Perons, here's an entire section of them. From 1946 to 1955 and 1973 to 1974, Juan Perón served as president of Argentina. During his 40-year-long political career, he did a lot. For one, he established social unions to help struggling workers. He built 47 hydroelectric dams, and Argentina was able to make its own cars during his lifespan. Perón would later be overthrown and later reinstated until his death in 1974. Now, let's talk about his wife, Eva Peron, who's probably the most famous Argentine in history. Eva established social organizations to help lower-class citizens. She would support women's suffrage, finance a theme park known as the Republic of the Children, head the Ministries of Health and Labor, established the philanthropistic Eva Peron organization, and the list goes on and on. Even after her tragic death in 1952, Eva Peron has lived on as one of, if not, the most influential Argentines in history. I'm not going to even mention the sick things some people did to her body before she was buried. It was pretty nasty. During 1982 was the Falkland War, which I conveniently just made a video on and totally didn't make a plan to do so. I go into way more detail there. Basically, Argentina lost the Falkland Islands to the British and lost 600 soldiers. In 2019, Argentina elected its current president, Alberto Fernandez, bringing us to the present day where Argentina doesn't have that many controversial things unless it's soccer or football. And there was my history of Argentina. Now for part 2 of the video, the national anthem. With that, I now present the national anthem of Argentina, which is just called Himno Nacional Argentino, or the creatively named National Anthem of Argentina. It's usually a meandering 3.5 minute mess, so I'm going to be making a special simplified version. Here is the Argentine national anthem. Enjoy. And with that, that was my history and cover of the national anthem of Argentina. What a history that was. It got bright and dark very quickly, even if it was unexpected. Anyways, my next video will be a biography. It will be on John F. Kennedy or JFK. It will be coming out on May 29th. Thanks for watching.